Hey, it's Key Creative Studio. Master Drawing in Japan. Let's make a point to draw every day. Uh, I'm gonna talk about how to use like straights and curves to create like a sense of balance and rhythm in your drawings. Um, One of the things that I learned from being in martial arts in my spare time is that the entire world is like made up of like complements of like positives and negatives and things like that. You know, um, not necessarily opposites, but like to say complements. Black and white are not necessarily opposite, but they're complements because they rely on each other to give each other meaning. Male and female are not necessarily opposites because they rely on each other to give each other meaning. So they're complements. I like to think because there's a harmony to it, right? That's the whole thing. It's like you have like one aspect, and then okay, maybe you have its converse, um, and but that relationship is a harmony, right? So essentially, like when we draw, let's say a a curve, right? So obviously, we have something going from here to here, right? But what the complement of that would actually would be like a straight, right? And then I give a curve here, and then the complement of that like would be a straight. So when you have this, like you're getting a relationship of one. There's a rhythm here, but but the thing is like you can't make everything. We can't make everything curves, and you can't make everything straights, right? So like so once you like you have this combination of the two working together, you get yeah you get this balanced relationship, right? So how does this like relate to the body, right? So if you look at your own body, your body is basically it's made up of a lot of curves. However, each of those curves are generally complemented by a straight, right? Actually, I did a quick one beforehand here, like a bit of a mannequin, right? So if you let's say if like we're looking like at this leg here, right? So essentially, we have like the curve of the outside of the leg, which goes into like the curve of like the knee, right? And then this curve of the knee like goes out into the lateral part of the calf, and then the lateral that curve like goes into the interior part of the ankle, and then that goes into the lower part of the ankle, right? So you get this zoom, vom, 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 vom kind of relationship. And then like what balances it off, like there's a straight, right? There's the curve, the outside of the leg, but the straight of the inside of the leg. There's a curve of the knee, but there's the straight of the outside of the leg. And there's the curve of the outside of the leg, and then there's like the straight of the inside of the leg, right? And then again, um, okay, this is curve of the inside ankle, but then there's a straight here, and then it goes into the other ankle, and then the rest of it, the rhythm feeds out by itself. Okay. Now this is a very graphic way of drawing things, and this can work essentially, for just you need like a mannequin, or you're doing something like for animation. Um, the leg doesn't look like that in totality. That's just like laying down like a basic form for you guys. That can work. But if you keep this relationship in mind, it might be helpful for you. Okay, like you have to keep in mind that there are other rhythms here too, right? Like you have, okay, so I said like you have like this curve of like the inside of the knee, right? Which is in rhythm relationship to the outside of the leg, right? But here on the inside of the thigh, like you have this other curve coming in like that. So this curve actually is relation to like to other muscles that might be happening, like let's say like the rectus femoris, like going up here like that. All right. So these things, like they need not be like absolutes. Okay, is what I'm saying. Okay. By the way, just so that you should always just remember, okay, that like the inside of the inside of the calf is always lower than the outside. So you always have like this kind of relationship. Okay, it's not the other way. No, it's not the other way. This point is always higher, and the inside is lower. The inside ankle is always higher, and then the outside ankle is always lower. Okay. Now, if I have this one like coming out like this, it's actually no, I want to do it this way, and then I'm gonna have maybe this one coming out a little bit more. Okay. We still get that relationship, okay? Curve of the outside of the leg, the straight of the inside of the leg. The curve of the inside knee, the straight of the opposite side of the leg, right? So again, straight to curve relationship, right? You see it? Okay. The curve of the outside of the calf, all right, and then straight, the relative straight. These things are just relatives, okay, and these are not absolutes, okay, because actually I'm going to do another video to show, like, where the other muscles are and stuff like that. So, this is just a tool to help you guys, This is not exactly what the human body looks like, okay? All right. So anyway, so the curve of the outside of the calf, the straight of the inside of the calf, the relative straight inside of the calf, the curve of the inside ankle, okay, the straight of the opposite part, but then you have the curve of the outside part of the ankle, and then it feeds into this rhythm like that. Okay. All right. So this way, you can get you can get a basic like mannequin down for yourself, so that you can work it to any way that you want to work it. Okay. Also, these relationships, also can be in other parts, like let's say like in the arms, okay, like you say, like you have like the curve of the shoulder, going to like the curve of the elbow, right, and then like you have like the straight of the upper forearm, then you have the curve of the outside arm, inside straight, right, and then you could say like the curve of the hand here, inside the hand, and then a straight outside hand. Of course, then you could fill out the rest. Okay. Again, I say, don't use this as a means to say, like, well, this is what the body always looks like, because it doesn't. It doesn't. These are just tools just to help you if you're not really sure, like, where, if it's starting to feel like kind of like there's no like rhythm to it. If you don't feel any like rhythm or structure to your drawings, then you should always like look for a curve, or you should always look for a straight. Okay, and then like try to make sure like those things are offset naturally. Okay, I'm gonna do like one other quick one. Okay, and I always do this for people. So let's say, so this is like head on, right? So let's imagine the person is like at a profile, right? So I'll start with the head. 1 second. Sorry. Okay. Okay. So I'll start with the head here. Okay, so in terms of like person and profile, all right, you have like the curve of the neck. The neck is always curved back, and then that feeds into the curve of the back. All right, the curve of the back is always like offset by the straight of the chest. Okay, the curve of the back fits into the curve of like of the stomach. Right, you have like the straight of the of the lower back. Okay, and then this curve of the stomach that feeds into the curve of the buttocks. That's offset by the curve, sorry, by the straight of the pelvis, which is here. Okay, and then you know you have the curve of the thigh, the straight of the back of the thigh. Okay, all right, the curve of the back of the calf, the straight of the shin. Okay, and then you know this can just basically like feed into the feet like that. So can you see it? All right. Okay. Okay. Curve, 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 straight, curve, straight, curve, straight, curve, straight, curve, straight, and into the feet like that. Okay. All right. I'm not I'm not recommending this as the way you know that you always like draw a human figure, but you know it will get you from A to Z. At least like when you're laying things down, and that you know things have a you need to like establish just like a mannequin figure like for you to work with. Okay, I always think the best approach really is just to like to know the body, you know, and like to use like every tool possible um, to help guide you know what you're trying to draw, you know, to be more balanced. Okay, all right. So I'm gonna stop there. Okay, and if this was helpful for you, please give me a like, you know, and subscribe. And if you have any comments, leave me a comment. All right. See you next time. All right. Bye.